Jonathan Newman wrote an article for Mises Wire, I think this is from a year or two ago, on why college degrees are becoming useless. And he points out something that Vedder has also pointed out more recently, that graduates have little to no improvement in critical thinking skills. He says that some of the most prestigious flagship universities' test results indicate the average graduate shows little or no improvement in critical thinking over 4 years. Employers are beginning to discount the degree signal as well. Google, for example, doesn't care if potential hires have a college degree. They look past academic credentials for other characteristics that predict job performance. At Yale College, where 62% of grades are in the A range, proposals to curb grade inflation are in doubt following student protests and faculty concern. Arthur Levine found in a national survey that 41% of students had grade point averages of A- or higher in 2009 compared to just 7% in 1969. This is from gradeinflation.com. It's the change in 4-year college grade distributions nationwide from 1940 to 2012. The red line there that you see that's gone up so much, that's A's. A's. Now about 40, well now that's 2012. If the trend has continued, then it's probably close to half of the grades being assigned are A's. It's like, I don't know if you remember the Garrison Keillor's radio show, and you probably don't, you're too young, but he had a radio show about this fictional town called Lake Wobegon where all the children are above average. And B's have dropped somewhat, but only because A's are rising faster. And again, this is part of that fraud. I mean, I think professors are saying, well, I know the students aren't going to show up in my office and just complain, and they're not going to object if I give them an A. If I give them a B, then I've ruined their 4.0. You know, they've been in school for 3 years. They've collected all of these easy A's, and now I'm going to be the target of their wrath. And professors just don't want to deal with that. And so they end up perpetuating this kind of problem. F's, by the way, that's the purple. F's have dropped to less than 5% of all grades assigned. This is again from Vedder's book. So maybe people are getting more A's because they're working harder, right? They're learning more, spending more time studying. We have more intelligent students in the classroom in the first place, so they're just working hard and they earned those A's, right? No. 1961, 40 hours a week spent on academic work in colleges per student on average. By 2003, that had dropped to, what's that, about 27, 28 hours a week on academic work. So, and I've seen this, and it's not just at my college, it's I think it's at many colleges where students are expecting to not have to work as hard to get an A. All right. Let's look at the next crisis. Government subsidies are backfiring. Now, I mentioned student loans, student debt. So, that's the debt clock as of yesterday. This is at finaid.org. You can find the debt clock, but I'd kind of be curious as to how much it's changed in 24 hours. But anyway, $1.6 trillion and climbing. I gave this talk, or a similar talk last year. I think it was under 1.5. And it seems like only about 3 or 4 years ago that it crossed $1 trillion, so it's rising. So, according to Bloomberg, college tuition and fees have increased 1,120% since records began in 1978. The rate of increase in college costs has been 4 times faster than the increase in the Consumer Price Index. Again, similar to medical care, we've seen rapid increases in the cost of medical care in the United States, and it's one of the more subsidized, regulated industries in this country. So the CPI here, the Consumer Price Index, and can I say Consumer Price Index without being there? Okay, all right. All right. We understand, disclaimer here, we understand there are massive problems with trying to aggregate prices like this, and nevertheless, these are the statistics that I was able to locate. The statisticians are not Austrian economists, so we make do with what's available. In any case, so here's the CPI, rising price levels, and a rising cost of tuition. Now, some of this is misleading because colleges are engaging in more price discrimination than they once did. Now, price discrimination means you're charging students different prices for the same product. So some students are on a full scholarship, their price is $0. Some students are paying the full sticker price, and many students are paying something in between. So colleges have figured out that they can have a very high sticker price and then study a student's financial information, their household income and so forth, and then match the price to their ability to pay. Now, where you ask, do they get all of this private financial information? The free application for federal student aid, FAFSA, where the income tax information, from a household's tax forms is cross-loaded onto this FAFSA form, and all of this information is then made available to the universities so that they can then tailor the price according to your ability to pay. Now, this is not all bad. It sounds terrible, especially because we've got a negative connotation with the word discrimination, which I would argue this is very different from the use of the word that we normally would see, the context we normally see that word used in. So price discrimination does have at least one salutary effect, which is that students who are low income may have access to college that would not otherwise have had access to college. If everybody had to pay the sticker price, even if the sticker price is lower, you're going to exclude students from college that may otherwise have been able to attend. So this is the percentage of median household income required to go to college. And we can see here that college is requiring a larger and larger fraction of median household income. That is, college affordability is declining in the United States, even though government aid has increased. How can this be? Could it be because when the government subsidizes college education, the colleges and universities say, well, they've got access to this much more money, we'll just raise our prices. And so colleges and universities have seen increases in, or have instituted increases in their tuition on a par with the access to federal and state dollars that students have. So this is not really improving affordability of college education when they can simply rake off that taxpayer money into the coffers of the college or university. And there are all kinds of battles being fought within the administration. Who's going to get all of this extra money? Student services, student medical clinics, and entertainment facilities and athletic facilities for students have all exploded in size over several decades. Spending a lot of this money that's been taken in is not exactly going to student education primarily, but to these other things that make college education more of a consumer good. So students end up, in many cases, borrowing money to fund their education, and they find themselves burdened with debt. This is a chart showing all kinds of debt and the delinquency rates on that debt. The student loan line is the red here, which you can see. Big increase in delinquencies in about 2011, 2012, just a couple of years after the official end of the last recession in the United States, probably related to that. If you look at other kinds of debt, here's credit card debt, big spike about the time of the last recession, and then a decline. But the highest delinquency rate now among all of these different kinds of debt is student loan debt. And the consequences of this for individuals are very serious. So William Bennett, writing many years ago, said that increases in financial aid in recent years have enabled colleges and universities blithely to raise their tuitions. And so they have. And there are a number of studies that indicate that this is exactly what colleges and universities have been doing. They say, oh, well, you've got more money, we're going to charge you more.